the best coaches in the game. We really ain't playing. We regroup up in the Slack chat where the coaches debrief. We be piecing these puzzles, occupy the chunk of the pie. Ain't no lie when we hit the block. Helmets, casket is top. You be seeing helmet after helmet, helmet after helmet. First place, second place, fifth place, eighth place, 12th place, 15, 16, 20. So many helmets, you got blurred vision, we got too many. Tick your tech. Oh man, shit. They got us fucked up. Army, recruit. We pledge always to have that edge. We don't fire warning shots. Competition just dropped. We locked and loaded before lock. Whatever the time, yeah. Do you even correlate?
Being the best requires a willingness to outwork your competition. There's always someone smarter, faster, sharper, more naturally gifted to come around.
Welcome back, DFS Army. It's FantasyFling for another look at Yahoo NFL DFS, doing Week 11 main slate. Let's go. All right. So before we look into Week 11, I want to look back at what won the Yahoo Baller. So this is a contest that normally has some overlay, which is the reason why you want to play it. And you can win. It's their top contest, $25,000 to first place. And we got 209 points. So this is obviously a contest that it's a top large field GPP contest for Yahoo, but much easier to win than the DraftKings Millie Maker. So Yahoo's contest, obviously, 11,000 people. It's much easier to beat a field of 11,000 people versus a field of 200,000 plus. So top score this past week, 209 points by obviously Yahoo veterans. Got that V. You want to avoid those in head-to-heads if you can, but obviously in large field GPPs, they're going to be there. So the top lineup that took it down, 209 points. Justin Fields with a Cole Kmet stack, no bring back. So Fields scored 40 points. Cole Kmet scored 21 points. And we had Saquon Barkley. These were my top two plays last week, Justin Fields and Saquon Barkley. And they smashed. And then you had Jeff Wilson, who was great direct leverage off of Chalk Tua and Tyreek Hill, and also Jalen Waddle. So he had 21 points. Christian Kirk in a stack with Travis Kelce. We got another stack here. Great stack. A lot of pros were on this. Just kind of a way to get off of pricier Mahomes, which it was able to do last week for Fields as a pay down option. But this week, as we get into it, we're going to see he's certainly not a pay down option. And then Devontae Adams, I listed him last week as well. He was great at his salary. He was only $25. He was fantastic, 23 points. Christian Watson, if you either included him in a stack or he was just an extreme outlier, that, a top leverage play for you, you thought maybe that game might go a little crazy. Maybe he might get some deep shots. Well, this guy was rewarded. He wasn't the winning Millie Maker as well on DraftKings with a Tony Pollard stack. But yeah, he was less than 1% rostered. So the ultimate leverage play, basically everywhere he was played. And then the Dolphins D to round it out. So obviously on a half PPR site like Yahoo, we're not looking for the crazy quarterback +2 with, 1 or 2 bringbacks. It's not as necessary, specifically when you have a running quarterback such as Justin Fields. So that said, let's go over to the domination station, and we're going to do it a little different this week. I'm going to give you a rundown. We were able to get the projected ownership all squared away for Yahoo early on in the week. So I'm going to do some test runs on the optimizer, but let's kind of take a look at the top games on the slate. Now, preface this by saying it's an ugly slate. A lot of low scores. It's more or less what it's been this year. A lot of injuries, a lot of bad offenses. And, this week obviously continues. So the top games that we have, Chicago and Atlanta. Now, this one looks to be pretty juicy, obviously, from overall total Vegas lines, game total standpoint. And Stash agrees with his power ranking. So, Justin Fields has been the heart of Chicago recently. He's been running. He looks much better passing the ball. Him and Cole Kmet have a great connection. And he's just been electric. And he's priced all the way up this week. He's $42. So it's going to be hard to play him. It's going to be much harder than it was in past weeks. And in fact, his ownership is much lower. He does not project to be the chalk on Yahoo, and for good reason, being over $42, and Josh Allen hasn't even been that high this year. Next, Atlanta. So, they looked awful last time we saw them against Carolina. That said, Chicago does have a very poor defense. So does Atlanta. So this game really does have sneaky shootout potential, even being a 49.5 point game total, which is currently the highest on the slate. This game could definitely go a lot higher than that. I think I like this game. From both sides, really, I think you can get unique in this game in GPPs like the Yahoo Baller. Now, Carolina going against Baltimore, it's tough because we love Lamar, obviously, his upside, specifically in tournaments. He's always in play, but is Andrews going to play this week? He had a limited practice today. It's questionable. He really has no receivers. They project really well running the ball. Could be maybe a Kenyon Drake game. Maybe Lamar just takes care of it, and we see another quarterback by himself, really, in a lot of GPP winning lineups this week. Like we saw last week with Justin Fields over on the DraftKings Millimaker. So I don't know. There are obviously some cheap stacking options with Lamar, but low game total, not a ton to like. Now, Cleveland and Buffalo, snow apocalypse. I don't know. They're projecting 3 to 6 feet of snow for this game. I'll say this: if we get clarity that maybe all the snow is going to come, between now and game time, and they can clear the field and it's going to be minimal snow during the game, and people are going to be scared because of the weather, and they're going to be off of the Bills, off of Josh Allen, off of Stephon Diggs. Yeah, I want to play them. If the game gets played, I don't know. I'm probably not playing Josh Allen in cash if it's, a snow game. It's just super sloppy. But I would certainly take a few shots in GPPs just because we've seen it before. Brady, when he was back with New England, they had a game where it was a snow game and they scored like 59 points. So definitely be willing to take some shots in GPPs as long as the game gets played. But I wouldn't be heavy on it, and I would probably go elsewhere in cash, specifically with Josh Allen nursing an injury as well. On the Cleveland side, we don't like Amari Cooper on the road. I don't know what it is about him on the road. He's awful. I don't know. Does he go party the night before the game and plays all hungover? I don't know. But obviously Nick Chubb in half PPR formats, he's always in play. He has tournament winning upside. Just being able to break the slate with just how explosive he is. And then DPJ, Harrison Bryant, if Njoku misses again, he's a decent value. So Washington and Houston, low game total as well, 40.5. According to the Statistical Power Rankings, Washington does project pretty well, and they project to win this game pretty handedly, which is not surprising. They beat Philly last week, both rushing the ball and passing the ball. Now, Brian Robinson and Gibson are in a timeshare, so it's really hard to play those guys in cash for me. I just don't think they project really well. But yeah, in tournaments, obviously, large field GPPs, both are in play. On the passing side, I like Terry McLaurin. Heineke, he continues to target him even in a really tough matchup going against Philly. He still he broke the slate. He was the showdown winner for a lot of people who had him in the captain spot or the Yahoo Ball or the superstar spot. So McLaurin's in play. On the Houston side, Cooks, you could play Cooks, of course. He gets so much usage. And then Dameon Pierce, he's kind of the bell cow. As we'll get into, he's one of the top fantasy points per dollar plays this week, the top 8 running back. So Philly and Indy. Now, is A.J. Brown going to play? He rolled his ankle a little bit last week. I don't know. If he doesn't, I like Devonta Smith. Goddard's out for the year. You got to think that those targets are going to be condensed to both Smith and A.J. Brown. So I would certainly like A.J. if he does play. I think both A.J. and Devonta are both playable in tournaments. And then on the Indy side, put this in my notes. There was that clip from Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning saying, "I'm calling the effing plays, all right." And Jeff Saturday is like, we need to run the ball more. We need to run the ball more. Well, Jeff Saturday, the interim coach for the Indianapolis Colts, what did he do? He came in and said, "Let's run the ball." He gave JT 22 carries last week for over 150 yards and a touchdown. JT's in play. He also went with Matt Ryan as his starting quarterback, and Matt Ryan is back on Pittman. Pittman looks like a really good play this week. He got a 30% plus target share. So I like Pittman this week. Jets going against New England. There's not really anything that I like from this game. Very low game total, 38 points. If there's no Damian Harris, I would be interested in Ramondre Stevenson. That's it. Next game, Los Angeles Rams versus New Orleans. Low game total, 39 points. Stafford is expected back this week. Cooper Kupp's gone. He's on IR, likely for the year, at least 4 games. So, Darrell Henderson, I think that maybe they're going to want to run the ball more. So Darrell Henderson, I think, is in play. Van Jefferson might be a great value play come by, lock on Sunday. And then maybe Allen Robinson will get some more targets. Overall, their offense is pretty ugly. This is a low game total. I don't really like much from this. Alvin Kamara is kind of popping in the domination station. I don't love it. They just looked awful last week. I don't know. He's a tournament play for me. I'm not playing him in cash at this point. But he always has that tournament winning upside, as we saw a few weeks ago. Detroit Lions versus the Giants. So I like this game. This game, I think, kind of has a sneaky shootout potential. Detroit obviously has a horrible defense, but they project really well against the Giants this week. Saquon Barkley projects great from this game. And then on the Detroit side, Amon-Ra is underpriced on Yahoo. So is Khalif Raymond. They project well passing the ball. This game projects both teams over 23 points, 50-point game total. I like this game in stacking this week and, just some pieces of my cash games. Las Vegas and Denver, not really a lot to like here, except for the fact that Josh Jacobs ran all over Denver the last time they played. Devontae Adams did pretty well, actually. He didn't get in the end zone, but got over 100 yards. They were moving him around to get him away from Patrick Surtain. So he did pretty well. On the Denver side, Denver projects is one of the top 5 passing teams this week. I don't believe it. I'm a Broncos fan. I've been miserable every Sunday this year because of the Broncos. I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to get sucked in again to playing even small exposure to a Wilson stacks. I'm not going to do it. I don't believe it. Their offensive line is a mess. I think you play the Vegas defense in this game. Maybe you could play Sutton, Dulcich. We'll see. Dulcich, I think, is playable as a tight end, a wide receiver. There's other places I would go. Other than that, no running backs. Outside of Sutton and Dulcich, I just wouldn't play anybody on the Denver side. And then, obviously, on the other side, I like Vegas, Josh Jacobs, and their defense. So, Dallas and Minnesota, I really like this game just because of the two offenses in this game, what they can both be. This is one of the higher game totals. CeeDee Lamb was electric that last week. Dak has certainly targeted him a lot in the end zone. We got Lamb, we got Schultz. Tony Pollard looked really good. If Zeke's back this week, I don't like it. The backfield, I'm staying away. On the other side, I really like Justin Jefferson. He looked amazing. He is amazing. Very elite usage, elite talent, just the catch, maybe best catch ever, maybe. Definitely the catch of the year last week. But he popped up on the injury report this week in practice, and he had a limited practice. So we'll see what that ends up being. But obviously, I love Jefferson if he plays. And TJ Hawkinson hasn't found the end zone yet, but he has been getting a lot of targets too. Cincinnati going against Pittsburgh. Nothing really for me to like here, except that Cincinnati projects very well, according to the Statsational Power Rankings, passing the ball. They're coming off the bye. I do like Joe Burrow and T. Higgins in sacks this week. They're projecting as low owned. They're also projecting for a lot of passing yards. So I think that could be my stack of the week. We'll see when we get to it. So the power rankings, and what I do is I look at the Vegas lines and I try to see some consistency. So the Vegas lines, 49.5, Chicago, Atlanta, Dallas, Minnesota, 47.5, Detroit, New York Giants, 45. Now, some things happen during the week and skew these because the Statsational Power Rankings, just based on matchups, has Detroit and the Giants as the top game, 50 points. Cleveland and Buffalo, 49, but obviously that game total went way down with the weather news. Chicago and Atlanta, 48, Carolina, Baltimore, 47, and Dallas, Minnesota. So we'll see. Regardless, some of the constants, Dallas and Minnesota, Detroit, New York Giants, and Chicago and Atlanta. So those are certainly three games we think about. And then, I do my top 5 passing and rushing. And, I definitely, that factors into a lot of my projections and my plays for the week. So this week, as I mentioned, I love Fields. I have him in season long. He's been pretty much safe this season. And if you played him in GPPs if you played him in DFS last week, if you had a lot of exposure to Fields, it was unless you don't know what you're doing with the rest of your lineup, it's very hard to lose money. But you really had to have a lot of exposure to him because he was chalk. And if you were under the field on a guy who scored 40 plus points, you just weren't winning money last week at 29% ownership. So I love Fields, but at this point, he is priced above Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts. And he's really not passing the ball that much. 127 yards 2 weeks ago, 160 yards last week. If we take away the long rushing touchdowns, it's very hard to see him making value if those touchdowns go away. And those are very hard to predict from week to week. Yes, he has that upside, but when we're talking about cash games, it's a little scary because he is so high priced and he doesn't have much of a passing floor. Most of his points come from running the ball. So, that said, the matchup is very good this week, and I do think there's enough value that you can pay up for Fields just because some other guys are underpriced, so it kind of evens out in the construction of your lineup. So I'm definitely going to play him a lot in tournaments, but I'm not entirely sure yet in cash. It kind of depends on the Cleveland-Buffalo game, what the weather is projecting like closer to lock on Sunday. Now, I want to show you real quick over the domination station for quarterbacks. He's projecting low owned. So normally my cash game strategy is I want guys who are projected as high owned as chalk and who have high floor. So we have that with Allen and we more or less have that with Hurts. A lot of chalk. They're the chalk and they have a good floor. Fields is low owned. So if you play Fields and he's $42 in your cash games and he doesn't get there, it's going to be very hard to cash this week. If he has a dud at $42 and only 5% of the field is on him, it's going to be very hard to play him in cash games. So there's just looking at that, chances are I probably will be looking to play Allen or Hurts more so in cash, just because it's not going to hurt me if Fields goes off at only 5% owned. I'll watch these ownership numbers closer to lock on Sunday. But yeah, if he's only 5% owned, even at $42, I'd be all over him in tournaments for sure. He would be a tournament lock for me. Just something to keep in mind though, because ownership is very important, especially in cash games. So Josh Allen, he does have the top projection on the slate, from a team total, and really, he's basically he has a top projected just overall quarterback this week, and also their team top just 4 yards shy of the top passing yardage projection. So, well, this could obviously be skewed by the game. So again, it's something we're going to keep in mind, keep an eye on, and then I like Hurts too. He's $38. He has a safe floor. Even in a down game, he still had like 2 touchdowns. This game they lost, obviously, 2 touchdowns and passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. So, he's good for over 20 points. I like Hurts, obviously, at a little bit of a discount. Now, as far as my running backs, Barkley, he's getting the 31st ranked run D this week. He smashed the Texans last week. He was our top play. He didn't provide a great ceiling performance, but he still was the top running back that we identified, and he proved to score the most points for running backs, in his price range by far, as opposed to paying up for Derrick Henry and having that done. So I love him. Top scoring back this week via projections. Favorite cash game running back. Joe Mixon coming off a 5 touchdown game before the bye week last week. He's proved he's still a force as he scored 53 points just 2 weeks ago when, he had been highly inefficient until that point. But he's averaging about 21 touches per game since Jamar Chase has been out. And he's just a really solid back in the $20 to $30 range. He would be more for me this week. I would like him more in tournaments because of the next guy that I would prefer to play, Josh Jacobs. Last time he went against Denver this year, 22 carries for 144 yards and 2 touchdowns. He did add 31 yards through the air as well. And he's just one of the top running back standouts this week at the domination station again. So, when I see that and I see he's already gone against Denver and smashed, he's definitely my player pool, and just running some cash lineups, I do think he will be there. Now, Jonathan Taylor, when I look at him and Kamara, I like Taylor better this week. He looked healthy last week. That ankle looked healthy. As I established, they need to run the ball more. Jeff Saturday knows it. They ran the ball more. 22 carries. So I like him this week. Now, top fantasy points per dollar play, running back, Dameon Pierce, $21. He's just had double-digit points every week this year. And again, the ceiling's questionable. I would avoid him in tournaments, being the shock, with a questionable ceiling, but the volume, his price, floor, it's all there. Wide receivers, Justin Jefferson, as I mentioned, if he gets like in a full practice on Friday, I'm perfectly fine playing him in cash this week. 40% target share last week, 32% on the season. This is really a competitive game environment. So this game, you had 2 high-powered offenses. This game could shoot out. So I'm comfortable playing him, of course, this week. Definitely in tournaments, but in cash games if he gets a full practice on Friday. Stephon Diggs, top projection on the slate for good reason. Weather in Buffalo, again, it calls for 3 to 6 feet of snow between Thursday and Sunday. So I would monitor that before deciding to play him because he is pricey, and you can't have a sloppy game impacting your floor for a guy like Stephon Diggs is $35. T. Higgins, 26% target share last week as he's seen a bump in targets without Jamar Chase. He's the Bengals. He's the top pass catching option in the Bengals offense, and they project well this week, according to StatStational Power Rankings. Tournaments, I love him in tournaments. Not sure I'm getting there in cash. A guy that will be in my cash lineup this week, CeeDee Lamb, 32% target share on the season. He's just elite, and with Dak back, he scores touchdowns. He's had 3 in the past 2 weeks, which we need touchdowns on Yahoo, so I do think he's a bit underpriced on Yahoo. He's only $24. Really, he should be $28, $30, something like that. And then, the theme of really all the next guys, definitely the next 2, Amon-Ra and Michael Pittman, both underpriced. Amon-Ra, his usage is elite, and he's been producing specifically with TJ Hawkinson out now. We thought more targets would go his way. 31% target share last week, and the Detroit passing game projects very well this week against the Giants. His top 3 in fantasy points per dollar plays the DFS Army, second only to Michael Pittman, Matt Ryan's favorite target. And with Ryan back in the offense, we saw 32% target share for Pittman, top fantasy points per dollar wide receiver at his dirt cheap salary. Now, if you need to save $4 to make your lineup fit, maybe if you're doing like a pay up at tight end, so you want a stone cold minimum wide receiver, you could do Khalif Raymond. I don't like it. His target share just isn't high enough for me for cash games, but if you're paying all the way up for a tight end, you can certainly do that. Speaking of tight ends, Cole Kmet. So Fields and Kmet, they have been on fire. Fields is just targeting him a lot. He's targeting him in the red zone, deep down the field. He's getting open. I love Kmet as a primary stacking piece with Fields in tournaments. But he is a play in all formats because he's only $14. 42% target share last week. He's had 4 touchdowns in 2 games. He is the top tight end play on the slate. Dalton Schultz averaged 7.5 targets over the past 2 weeks, turned it into an average of 64 yards. He got in the end zone last week. We like that. Foster Moreau, first week with Darren Waller on IR. Obviously, Darren Waller's been hurt for a while, so Foster Moreau's been playing. But despite the Broncos' elite defense, they do give up a lot of receptions and yards to tight ends. He's only $11 and caught a touchdown last week with Waller on IR. So he's certainly in play for me. And then we can go over to the Dom station for the rest of this. Defenses, I typically am trying to find the cheapest defense that I can that's playable. So decent matchup, one that's not going to give me negative points. Now, their defenses aren't normally priced like really high. There's a lot of good value over on Yahoo. That's one of the reasons we play there. Soft player pricing. And by the way, if you like the content, you like what we're doing here, please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification button so you never miss an episode. Please. So the Saints going against the Rams. The Rams are without Kupp. Stafford's back. He's been prone to turning the ball over, and that's with Kupp in the lineup. Who knows what it's going to look like with Kupp outside of the lineup. So top projection, I don't go against Jesus, the domination station. It just always knows better. So I would guess this probably would be the top scoring tight end or defense on the slate. If it's not, it's certainly the top projected for a reason. It's very high variant position. So, typically we're going to want to pay down, which is why I sort by fantasy points per dollar. Pittsburgh Steelers going against Cincy. I really don't like it. I think Cincy projects quite well this week. So I would normally look more towards Washington going against Houston. I like that. $12. And then Las Vegas going against Denver. The Broncos offense has been bad. And one of the main reasons is the offensive line. The Broncos have so many injuries overall, but the offensive line is a mess. Wilson got hit 18 times last week, sacked like 6 times. So the Raiders could certainly get to him, and it can create turnovers. Minimal wide receiver options, specifically with Judy out. I could see him Wilson locking on Sutton more. So there's a lot of opportunities for turnovers. Now, as far as my top stack of the week, I do like Joe Burrow and T. Higgins this week. I also like Justin Fields. If Justin Fields, now when I made this, I did not expect Justin Fields to be 5% owned. So I'm probably going to change this to Justin Fields and Cole Kmet. But I do think both of these stacks will be in my player pool. And a lot of it comes down to ownership and price. For example, the Burrow stack, just by projection, Joe Burrow projects really well this week. So $34, 18 points, 5% owned. T. Higgins, $27, 12 points. I'm projecting him. This obviously isn't right, but if Burrow's going to be low owned, I'm guessing Higgins is going to be somewhat low owned too. Now, let's look at the tight end. See what Cole Kmet's going to be. Less than 1% owned, $14. That's crazy. We know Phil, and really it's probably just because of this is a stacking thing, right? Because we know Fields is going to be projected as low owned, and it's because of his salary is $42. So if I can get Fields and Cole Kmet, very low owned, yeah, that's definitely my stack of the week. And between the two of them, it's really not that bad, right? $42 plus 14. We've certainly seen we've had some $60 to $70 stacks on the regular. So some of the top leverage plays, obviously, those would be a couple. I like Dak this week at quarterback. That's a very low owned potential stack. You could do like Dak. You could do Schultz. You could do obviously Lamb. You could do Gallup. So a lot of different ways to go with that. Kirk Cousins, you do the other side of that with Justin Jefferson. Cousins at 1% owned. I like it. Mariota, 5% owned. With maybe Drake London, Kyle Pitts. Chicago defense has been horrendous over the past 3 weeks. They traded their two best pass rushers. Mariota, he runs a lot too, so really you don't even necessarily need to stack him with a pass catcher. I would do it with at least one, but it's not like we haven't seen naked running backs win tournaments this year outside of even Justin Fields. Had Daniel Jones winning some GPPs, ran naked. Now, if Devin Singletary is going to be chalk, direct leverage, Nick Chubb, 2%. I like that. I'm all about trying to get direct leverage. Let's say Justin Fields we do see a salary bump up. David Montgomery, I think, would be in play if these totals for Fields got way higher by Sunday. Cordarrelle Patterson, Antonio Gibson versus Houston. They have a horrible run defense. Yes, please. I would have both Gibson and Robinson. And they're both looking very low owned. So those are great direct leverage plays for me. At running back, wide receiver, Scary Terry going against Houston. He's been amazing lately with Heineke in the offense. I'll show you guys something here. This is one of the tools you have as a DFS Army subscriber every week. You can look at these matchups and see target shares, and you can make a lot of informed decisions by this. Specifically, when you start to see a bump up in targets, this is definitely an edge that you would have when you have these tools. 44% target share last week for Terry McLaurin. Heineke loves him. If you are not a DFS Army subscriber, you're just watching the channel. I don't know why. You should be a DFS Army subscriber. If you follow our content, you know how many wins we have this year, big time wins. Use code FantasyFling for 10% off of VIP subscriptions. You have access to the StatStational Power Rankings, all the full numbers, the matchups, and then the Domination Station, which I am about to run next. We're going to do a little bit of a test run on the domination station, and we had a guy, Scott Newman, who's been absolutely crushing it on FanDuel, which they use the same half PPR format. I got all his settings. This is something DFS Army VIPs had as he did. We did a stream with him. We got all settings that he's been using to smash large field GPPs. He's won over 100,000 this season, crushing it. He uses domination station, and this is something you would have access to as well as a DFS Army subscriber. So DFSArmy.com, use code FantasyFling at checkout for 10% off a VIP subscription. Why aren't you here? Mooney coming in low owned as well. So Fields and his pass catchers are coming in low owned. But the thing is even if Fields is pricey, guys and gals, his pass catchers are not. Komet, $14. Mooney, $19. I think we just got to play him again. We just got to keep playing him. Until the matchup gets tough, we got to keep playing him. That's what we're going to do. So I got all the settings in here, and we're going to do 150 lineups. We're going to do some quarterbacks that we like. So we're going to smash some likes, some adores. Make sure I'm not forgetting anybody here. Yeah, we're not playing. Probably not playing Pierce in tournaments. Now, Cole Kmet did have a little bit of a hip thing going on. So, obviously, if he doesn't play, then disregard. We needed to put in 3 uniques. Get a little test run. We're going to make 150 lineups. See how it goes. Now, I put in Scott Newman's settings, his domination station settings that he shared with DFS Army VIPs. I'm not going to give away his secret sauce on a free podcast, but if you are a DFS Army subscriber, you have access to this. If you're not, again, use code FantasyFling for 10% off a VIP subscription. Also, My Yahoo article will be coming out shortly. When it does come out, I tweet it out. So follow me on Twitter at FantasyFling. And I also include a free month subscription. So if you decide you want to give DFS Army a try, in fact, I will show you this. You could try a free month, VIP. So all you have to do is sign up to any of these sites. Let's say you want to play DFS at Owner's Box. You want to do Monkey Knife Fight, over-unders, Prize Picks, same thing. Underdog, Best Ball, Thrive Fantasy, over-unders, all these different options. You could try these sites. You sign up, you get 100% deposit match, use code DFS Army, you get a free subscription for a month. So lots of different ways to go about this. So we almost got 150 lineups here. All right, here we go. So what this is going to do is going to show you the top projected lineup. And it kind of goes down from here, right? That was a mistake. So sometimes you make a mistake and you're like, what's going on here? Why aren't there stacks? And then you go look at the rule that you made and no less than 2 players from the same team. So stack QB with no less than 2 wide receivers / tight end from the same team. So we're going to hit optimize again. Normally goes a lot quicker. Might be a result of me streaming, my girlfriend in the other room watching Netflix, and just an overall slow internet connection. I don't know what else to say. We're also making 150 lineups. So obviously, if you're doing 50 lineups, this will go much quicker. I like to do 150 and then kind of scroll through and pick out the best lineups that I like. So typically, if I'm doing 150, I'm not making, for me personally, I'm not making 150 lineups out of those. I am more or less doing, 50 lineups that like I really like. All right. Let's take a look here. So a lot of different running backs, pretty big pool. Small pool of quarterbacks: Lamar, Burrow, Dak, Amon-Ra, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, Adams, Jefferson. So a lot of the top guys that we liked. Lots of Lamar lineups. So yeah, you can see prime stacking here. Burrow, Higgins, Hayden Hurst, which a lot of the large field GPP winning lineups that we've seen, they typically have the quarterback stacked with the tight end, whether it be a single stack or a double stack. More often than not, it's been a double stack. So this is definitely a lineup that I would like in the Yahoo Baller. We got Burrow, we got Higgins coming in low owned, Hayden Hurst, Saquon Barkley, Ramondre Stevenson. So obviously eating a lot of chalk with Saquon, with Pittman, and specifically Amon-Ra and Josh Jacobs, but playing some low owned players. So this type of stack would certainly be viable for me in tournaments. And if you have the domination station, you can obviously use this optimizer to tweak what you want, what you want, whether you want certain exposures to different quarterbacks, 150 lineups, whether you're looking for small field GPPs or larger field GPPs. That's something that you can adjust as far as like projected ownership. So the bigger the contest, the smaller ownership you want. You want to be more contrary to trying to win that top spot in that contest. So a lot of different things you can do with it. Running backs in the flex, tight end, zeroing out different things, disallowing more than one pass catcher without the quarterback stacked with it, so on and so forth. That's kind of a good first run for Yahoo. The domination station over at DFS Army. We will obviously take a look at this again next week. Hope everyone has a great week. Good luck. We will see you next week.